I'd like to call the meeting of the Richfield Planning Commission to order. The first thing on our agenda would be the approval of the minutes.
Commissioner Tarleton moves to approve.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Keneally seconds.
All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the next thing on the agenda would be approval of the minutes of the Joint Planning Commission and Council work session from February 24th.
Commissioner Tarleton moves to approve.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Hui seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The next thing would be to approve the agenda for the rest of the meeting. Is there a motion to approve that?
Commissioner Tarleton moves to approve.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Keneally seconds.
All right. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And now the first portion of the meeting for this evening is a public hearing to consider a request for site plan approval, a preliminary plat, a final plat, and a variance.
Open forum.
What? It's not on the...
It's third.
Oh, I see it. Yep, I'm sorry. The next thing on the agenda would actually be our open forum, which is an opportunity for members of the public to address the Planning Commission, typically on items that are not on the regular agenda. Did we receive any comments beforehand?
Say my name and address.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right, good evening. Stephanie Kolakowski, I'm a Richfield resident living on Lakeview Avenue. I'm here today with a heavy heart to share the tragic loss of my husband Henrik's cousin, Lauren, earlier this month. She and her partner, Michael, were intentionally and violently struck by a vehicle while crossing Emerson Ave and 26th Street in Minneapolis. 2 additional people were struck on this same day by the same driver only 5 minutes prior. Lauren was only 32, yet she was one of the most compassionate and smartest people I will ever know. Outside of her demanding career in patent law, she dedicated her time generously to others. She loved using her animal experience, earned from her Yale PhD in microbiome, to volunteer at Como Conservatory on the weekends. More recently, she showed her deep commitment to our community by courageously protesting, even by herself, for fairness and the rights of others. While we are grieving, my husband and I are also more determined than ever to advocate for safer communities for pedestrians and cyclists in Minneapolis. I share Lauren's story with all of you today to highlight the importance of prioritizing pedestrian safety in our city's planning and development. Her death must serve as a catalyst for tangible safety improvements. I believe that sharing the human impact of such tragedies is a powerful reminder of our collective need for safer infrastructure and policies. As members of the Planning Commission, we have a vital role in shaping a city that protects all of its residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here to address the Planning Commission for open forum? Were there any other comments received, Planner Crosby?
No, there were not.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Now we can move on to our public hearing to consider a request for site plan approval, a preliminary plat, a final plat, and a variance for 42 units of multifamily housing at 6501 and 6525 Penn Avenue. Do we have a report from the city staff?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Chair. JL Companies has submitted an application for land use approvals to construct a 5-story, 42-unit housing development on HRA-owned land north of Dunkin' Donuts at the southeast corner of 65th Street West and Penn Avenue South. As a Minnesota Housing Finance Agency funded project, this project is geared towards low-income families looking for safe and affordable housing. Affordability levels would range from 30 to 60% of area median income. The proposal includes a unit mix ranging from 1 to 4 bedrooms, an enclosed parking garage, an exterior parking lot, and ground level common areas and amenities. The subject property is zoned mixed-use community and lies within the Penn Avenue corridor overlay district. Site plan approval is required for all new buildings in the mixed-use districts that are not otherwise approved through a conditional use permit or a planned unit development. Except for a retaining wall that exceeds height requirements along the east property line, which is unrelated to the building itself, the proposed site plan complies with all aspects of the zoning code. A preliminary plat is required to combine the two parcels into one development site. Although a final plat typically comes later, the applicant has submitted both for approval at this time. The variance, as far as the variance being requested is a 7.5-foot variance from the 6-foot maximum retaining wall and fence height to allow a 13.5-foot tall combined retaining wall and fence along the east property line of the site. As explained in the policy section further below, the request is reasonable and is based on unique on-site grading differences. Staff finds that the proposed project meets the intent and policies of the comprehensive plan, the Penn Avenue Corridor Overlay District, and all other zoning code requirements except as noted by the retaining wall height variance. Consequently, staff supports all aspects of the request and recommends approval, subject to the conditions listed in the draft resolutions of approval. We did receive one email from a resident in the area. They had a lot of questions, but not really anything that I would mention. I believe they're actually here, so they might speak during the public hearing. And the applicant is also here if you'd like to hear from them as well. Thank you.
Any questions for city staff before we ask the applicant? Is the applicant here? Yeah, if you would like to, please come forward and say your name and address for the record.
My name is Johnny Opara, President and CEO of Geo Companies, and it's a pleasure to be here. Address is 510 Brunson Street, Suite 100, St. Paul, Minnesota 55130.
This plot has been under, has had various plans and has been under, or at least one of them has been under control of different parts of the city for quite a while. What is spurring on the additional plot and the proposed development?
Are you asking in terms of
Like
merge?
what has come together so that this is working now, so that we have this plan?
What is coming together
Yes,
in terms of us moving forward with this project?
correct, yeah.
So I would say that collectively our vision is to deliver 42 homes of affordable housing in this community. We've been working with the city of Richfield since last year. We received, if not the largest tax credit award through Minnesota Housing in terms of their belief in this project for our ability to deliver really high quality housing that also will stand the test of time. Our interest in this city goes back to COVID. In my conversations with Assistant Community Development Director Julie Urban, as well as Development Director Melissa as well. But I think our interest in terms of partnering with this great city is to take this blighted land that has not been used in its fullness and be able to deliver something that's going to be a part of this community, adding value, right? And bringing 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units to this community for families, folks that are making lower incomes, folks that are working regular jobs, but also will have access to transit, access to Highway 100, all the different amenities that are nearby. And I think that this is a project that will not only stand the test of time, but also to prove that we are doing our part as developers and our team to help change the narrative surrounding affordable housing. I'm in this business not necessarily because I want to continue to deliver housing that's going to be pretty. It's mainly because I want to make sure that I want to tap into folks that grew up just like me in affordable housing, but also to talk to those folks that, like my father, who needed access to high quality housing, for those families and for those individuals to be able to have access in this community. So for me, it's really personal. And also, too, my condolences to your friend, Commissioner. That's really unfortunate. And we take that very seriously in terms of the pedestrians, to make sure that they have the ability to walk in a community that they feel safe, and that we're being mindful of the traffic and all that. But moreover, I would say that this is a project that we're really proud of. We engaged the community by, taking some of their comments, by putting together an indoor tot lot, which is, in my opinion, may have not been done before. Basically, almost 2 stories within the apartment building, and letting folks know that during the winter months, when they may not have access to a nearby rec, which is, I believe, a mile or 2 miles away, now they have access into it in their building. In addition to that, a washer and dryer in every unit, balconies, underground parking, fitness center, business center, on-site management, supportive services. I mean, we're investing almost $24 million on this site. So at the end of the day, we feel that this is going to be a project that's going to not only add value to this community, but really stand and say that, we believe in the city of Richfield, and we're committed to being a long-term owner and operator in this community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, we may, if it's all right, we may call you up to address if there are some questions after other comments that you might be able to answer.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. All right, is there anyone, a resident or anyone else here to speak to this hearing? Yeah, please approach. Yeah, we opened the public hearing.
Hi. Hi, good evening. My name is Michael Gormley. I'm a resident of 6444 Newton Avenue South, Richfield, Minnesota 55423. Commissioner Kowalski, I'm really sorry to hear about the tragedy that befell your family. And I'm here to talk to the commission about that specific issue. I represent a number of folks who live right in the area where this multifamily housing project is going to go up. And we live on a street that is extremely narrow, that currently has no sidewalk on either side, whether it's 65th Street, Oliver, or between Oliver and Penn. There's no sidewalks. And we're inviting a building that's going to have 42 apartments, some with multiple bedrooms, 3, 4 bedrooms. And there, at the current time, is not planned to have, in my opinion, sufficient parking on site. So that's going to drive folks onto the street or other areas for parking. Once you start getting the parking on the street, at the moment, there isn't any kind of limitation for where the cars can park, so the potential for individuals blocking intersections, individuals parking on both sides of the street, and having our community, people walking their dogs, biking down the street with their kids, etc., it presents a serious problem from a safety perspective for other cars being able to see the pedestrians and bikers on 65th Street, on Oliver, on Newton. Second, during the rush hour periods, there is substantial alternative traffic coming off of 66th Street and driving down 65th Street at excessive rates of speed. They don't stop at the stop signs. I understand that that's not the issue of this particular committee, but it is an issue of Richfield, and it is an issue of the Planning Commission to understand that when you agree to have a new project go up, whether it's 42, 100, 25, that if the community is not prepared to actually absorb the new traffic, the new parking, the new, et cetera, in a way that is safe for the people who already live there, then we are at a disadvantage. I think that the plan that JO Companies has put it together is terrific. I've seen the drawings. I understand the importance of affordable housing. I work in that business myself, doing communications, okay, for a lot of folks who are very committed to making sure that there is high-quality housing for people of all income levels. So the issue here is not the housing or the proposal for the multifamily building itself, but rather, at the current time, none of the proposals, none of the information that has been made available addresses the issues that numerous people from our community has actually put forth. Parking has not really been addressed. On-street parking has not been addressed. Potential pedestrian issues and traffic has not been addressed. And I'm here today to basically say, what are we going to do about that? What does the Planning Commission, what is your responsibility to make sure that the people who are in the community already, before this building goes up, get to continue living in the safe, pedestrian-friendly kind of environment that we currently live in, because we don't have a lot of on-street parking. We don't have sidewalks, so we do a lot of walking and biking in the middle of the street. I see people go up and down 65th Street all the time on the street, trying to avoid cars. You throw on a bunch of cars parked on the street, and people are going to have a lot harder time doing that safely. And Sam made a good point. He said, well, maybe we'll have to do it where, people slow down and they go through and so forth and kind of move to one side. That's true. But in Minneapolis, there are sidewalks on both sides of most streets. We don't have that in Richfield. In fact, the only sidewalks that I am aware of are on the major thoroughfares. Other things, we can talk about things like parking arrangements. Right across the street from the proposed building, there are plenty of parking lots. There's the liquor store, which has a public parking, meaning it's technically owned by the city of Richfield. There are ways, I think, that these things could be addressed, but none of them have been actually sort of proposed or understood, and the concerns that we have as a community have not really been reflected in any of the plans that we have seen. So I would call on the commission to basically understand, how are we going to solve this? How are we going to make sure that the streets in the community around the project remain safe, considering there are going to be more cars and more traffic that currently it doesn't seem like the community can really handle. Thank you for letting me share.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this?
Yes, my name is John Peterson. I'm over at 6445 Oliver Avenue South, over in Richfield. My condolences, Commissioner, on the loss of your family member. Just reiterating what Michael said, same thing is there's not been any sort of traffic study that I've seen in terms of how that flow works. As it is, I think Penn actually narrowed down to 1 lane per direction a couple years back, so that's already a bottleneck as it is with right as you pass the Dunkin', it bottlenecks into 1 lane. So that's an issue coming out of the neighborhood. So again, you're just adding to that traffic with people literally stepping out of their door, in the dozens in the morning, essentially with this new project. And then, you add that to 65th, people coming down 66th, taking 65th as a thoroughway. I can see traffic just, taking the safety out of it, traffic backing up all the way to Morgan and beyond, just on that one stop sign. And then, of course, then you do add the safety piece back into it. And just with the rate of speed that people travel down that way, and, again, not stopping at stop signs. Granted, that's a public issue in general. Nobody stops at stop signs these days. But how do we address that piece before we do add in something like this building? Again, very much for, a building of reasonable size that supports the community, supports people joining the community. But I think more stuff needs to be addressed before we just throw in a 5-story building that has more units than parking spaces alone, and then add to the morning and evening commutes to that effect. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. I know we had a couple of questions from within the commission, but actually I just wanted to start by, I don't see there's no request for a variance from the parking ordinance. So I'm assuming that this proposal is within the existing parking minimums set for the city.
Chair and Commissioners, that is correct. They meet the zoning requirement for parking. The developer, as based on his knowledge, the site meets what he thinks the parking need will be, and the bank, who's funding the project, also is concerned about having a marketable building that holds value, and they are funding the project with the number of parking spaces. But most importantly, it meets our code.
What is the, I don't remember off the top of my head, what is the minimum for that district?
It's 1.25 per unit.
So there is more than one
Yes.
parking space per unit?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Keneally, you had a question, did you not?
Thank you, Chair. We heard from the developer, excuse me. He talked about holding open meetings with the neighborhood to collect feedback. And in our notes here, we have 3 community meetings. And I just wanted to ask about what you learned, what you applied to the project, what you incorporated, some examples like that.
Commissioner, thank you. We had 2 community meetings, and in my opinion, they taught us a lot. You know, one of the things we learned, and I want to appreciate the comments from the community in terms of, you know, I don't live in this community, right? But I think that, you know, it's these types of comments that give our team an opportunity to kind of dial back and think about, you know, what are some things that we can improve upon. And that was actually the goal of these 2 community meetings. You know, I mentioned earlier in terms of the concerns surrounding this being a building that's going to encompass families, right? The nearest park is about 1 mile to 2 miles away, right? So we, you know, are making an investment of almost $100,000 in delivering a state-of-the-art tot lot playground. Think of if you go to McDonald's and you see those, that will be actually inside of the apartment building. Washers and dryers in every unit, balconies, every unit. Mentioned the parking. We have grade parking. We also have underground parking as well, below grade. So I think those meetings, in my opinion, give us an opportunity to kind of really understand for the community that lives and breathes in this community each and every day and see things that we probably don't see on a day-to-day basis, give us an opportunity to figure out what we can do to improve upon things that maybe we didn't think about. And I'll ask my architect to kind of share additional comments surrounding everything from the retaining wall, the fact that we have instituted different ways to address the potential partnership with Hennepin County surrounding the sidewalk, entering and exiting the building itself, the fact that, you know, we have 42 families, but we have 46 stalls. So yes, we are meeting the parking requirement, but at the same time, that is something that not only our team takes very seriously, but also, too, if you can't park a building, then who wants to live there, right? So we are not only investing time, but countless resources to make sure that we can deliver something that's going to be really precious in this community for the families that's going to live here if approved by the commission.
Good evening, Commissioners and Chair. My name is Eric Bjorn. I'm with Pope Design Group. I'm the architect and project manager for this project. Just to touch on a couple things that were said by the public earlier, For this project, the city has required us to extend sidewalk on 65th. You'll see that in our civil drawings. We are extending that all the way down to Oliver as part of this project, so we are including sidewalk. And one of the other transportation items as part of this project that we've included is significant bike parking, indoor bike parking, secured bike parking storage. So there are alternative methods for transportation that we've included in this project that would normally not be included in a affordable housing project. So we're pretty excited about this project. We've spent a lot of time and effort in working with Johnny and his team. This is a unique project for an affordable design building, and we're pretty excited about the amenities and the project moving forward. So we appreciate your consideration.
Any other?
May I ask a question to city staff? Cool, Hui, Commissioner. First of all, I guess I want to say, express my sympathy to your perspectives on the traffic. I think as a frequenter of 66th in the morning, I see it as well right now, and I do see how people will take, side streets and abuse the speed limit. I mean, it's frustrating, and I think it should be looked at, unfortunately. I mean, it's out of the purview of the Planning Commission, but I do think it is something that we should pay attention to and have the Transportation Commission have conversations about that, about what some ways to curb that are. I do struggle to see a connection of adding this housing to worsening or affecting that traffic in a meaningful way on 66th and Penn. Like those are county roads that are trafficked by thousands every day, and so adding 44 pieces of homes for people, I just don't see a strong correlation of that dramatically changing that. I get that it is more there, and there will be another, people living there, but I don't know if I see a huge correlation. But when we have set these standards for parking, I guess it feels appropriate that 1.25 is met, and that satisfies my worries. We've spent a lot of time having the conversation about whether that's appropriate or not. One question I have for city staff is, are there any examples of narrow roads near multifamily that I'm thinking of over by Richfield Parkway, just south of that Target there? We've had some conversations about emergency vehicles and stuff getting access to there. Has there been any conversations about parking signs and restrictions during certain times to make sure that we're not overfilling those roads, whether it's parking on one side of the road versus both? I don't know. Has there been any conversation about that, or anything we can kind of look at to help lighten that?
Chair and Commissioner Hui, we do have a traffic control committee, which I sit on, so you would think I would remember it if there had been, but my memory is not the greatest. We certainly could put a request in, or one of the neighbors could, there's an online form to fill out so that I'm not misinterpreting the concerns, if it's speed or volume or stop sign compliance or whatever the issues may be. And we can look at that collectively with police, fire, engineering, planning, and determine if there are measures that would be appropriate to address some of the concerns.
Sure. So just to wrap up all my comments, I agree traffic's an issue. We should address that and look at that, and I would encourage you to submit that request. As far as the parking goes, we're meeting our code, and honestly, we can't really, if this is in the code, we don't have a way of saying we don't like it. They meet the code, and so we need to comply with our code, and I feel confident in the code, and so I just wanted to express that sympathy and also have a conversation about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Hui. I had some personal comments to respond to your line of questioning about examples in Richfield where we have narrow streets near multifamily housing. And I can think of a very specific example, if I may, near Lyndale and 65th, where we have the new developments of Linview and Riley. I'm over there every morning and afternoon to take my kids to daycare. 3 of them, picking them up in the afternoon. Lisa Stewart Daycare, she's wonderful right here in the community. What I'm getting at here, though, is these are narrow streets, parked on both sides, near these apartment buildings. And I roll up on my bike pulling these kids in and out. And I drive when it's snowing and there's ice on the sides. And it's navigable. It's safe from personal experience. I'm not out on Lindale combating with that traffic, but in the neighborhood, in this specific spot where these apartments have been built, it works. The only problems are turkeys and dogs. Thank you.
Anything else before we would close the public hearing?
This one's for the developer. How off, like, is that 1.25 seem to be adequate for parking for your other properties you have? Like, I guess, how many cars do families usually have in your experience? Is it around 1, greater than 1, or would the 1.25 meet that?
Thank you, Commissioner. That's a great question. We actually have suitable parking for all of our developments, Wangster Commons and Brooklyn Center, as well as the Hollows in St. Paul. So to answer your question, the city did require, the city of Brooklyn Center did require, Commissioner, additional parking for the simple fact that we do have 4 bedrooms. I think in total we have almost 100 stalls. That's between grade and below grade. And effectively, those stalls are filled up in addition to having charging stations, which we will have handicap spots for the disabled, in addition to having guests parking as well. So it is definitely suitable. We haven't had any concerns in the city of St. Paul. In fact, in front of the building, we actually have additional parking, not only for residents, but for guests as well. So there hasn't been any concerns for our company in terms of our residents not having access to adequate parking or their guests. But I know this is a tight site, 0.89 acres, almost a 70,000 square foot building. I think that with 42 units and 46 stalls, you know, based on the fact that our investor and our lender, if there was concerns surrounding parking, they definitely would have brought it up to our attention. But that's a great question. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Commissioner Hui motions to close the public hearing.
Commissioner Tarleton seconds.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we would need a motion to proceed with the staff recommended action.
Commissioner Hui motions that we accept the recommended action by the staff.
All right, so there has been a motion to consider the site plan approval, preliminary plat, final plat, and a variance for the 42 units of multifamily housing at 6501 and 6525 Penn Avenue, and follow the staff recommended actions. Is there a second?
Commissioner Surma, seconds.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of a resolution finding that the disposition of Outlot A, Wexler's second edition by the Housing and Redevelopment Authority is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Is there a report from staff?
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. After the roundabout at Richfield Parkway and 66th Street was constructed in 2008, some remnant land was transferred to the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. The city would now like to sell that land to the adjacent property owner, which is Professional Dental Properties, LLC. The property is irregularly shaped and is not developable as a standalone parcel. The HRA has conducted an appraisal and has authorized the sale of the property, and the Planning Commission must review this sale for consistency with the comprehensive plan. Both the dental parcels and the remnant parcels are guided community commercial and are zoned C2. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the resolution finding that the disposition of Outlot A, Wexler's second edition by the Housing and Redevelopment Authority is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, looking at the parcel, it appears that there is parking on the southern portion of the parcel. Could you explain what that's currently used for?
Yes, I knew somebody was going to ask that question. It is currently being used by the dental office, and it has been leased from us for the dentist's parking, I think, pretty much since like 2008. So, yeah, it'll just continue to be used in the same way that it has been being used for the past however many years.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Commissioner Hui, when you say that the land is not developable, what, I mean, I understand it's a regular lot, but like the parking lot portion, there's no opportunity to really put anything there, or what determines that it's not developable, just so I understand?
The setbacks and, you know,
Sure.
parking that you would need for a building of a certain size and,
Sure.
yeah.
So in the perfect reality, if we had all the proper setbacks and parking and stuff, we'd have like a 20 by 20 building that has one stall underneath it kind of thing?
Yeah, you'd have a shed.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Just making sure I understand that. Thank you.
It's a very awkward lot.
All right, if there are no other questions for staff, we do need a motion to approve the resolution finding that the disposition of Outlot A Wexler's second edition by the Housing and Redevelopment Authority is consistent with the city plan.
Move to accept that?
Is there a second?
Kolkowski seconds.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. On the agenda next would be liaison reports, Community Services Advisory Commission. Do you have a report for that? Is that Brett? Okay. I do not have a report for City Council. It's been so long since the last meeting that we had. How about Housing and Redevelopment? That one is Brett, I think.
I'm sorry. I was not used to my liaisonship being first. Okay, so at the last meeting in April, the notes from the May's meeting for the April meeting, the splash pad project is progressing and they're scheduled to open June 6th, which is exciting. They're interviewing folks for the pool liner to be done. There's been an RFP issued for that will be issued soon for the park portion of the Vets Park project, and they're also applying for some grant money for solar panels on the arena, so things are progressing over there. Earlier today, I believe, was the groundbreaking at Wood Lake, which is exciting. Yeah, that's kind of the gist of it.
All right, thank you. School Board.
No report, Chair.
All right. Transportation.
Yes, so thank you, Commissioner Hui, for mentioning the groundbreaking at Wood Lake earlier today. I was fortunate enough to attend that and take part in the groundbreaking with many dignitaries, including Senator Tina Smith. So that was a very fun and joyous event to celebrate this new asset for our community coming in later next year. The Transportation Committee had 2 meetings since we last met, because we haven't met, I don't believe, since February. It's been a while. So a number of things that have been discussed at recent Transportation Committee meetings, including giving feedback to Metro Transit on their proposed Network Now plan for restructuring bus service and priorities for the next several years. There were a lot of opinions on express service and park and ride service in Richfield and where those should be, and giving feedback on those proposals. There was also a presentation and discussion on the Nicollet Avenue reconstruction that Hennepin County is spearheading between 66th Street and 77th Street. That's supposed to begin construction next year. 60% design plans were released in April, and the city gave feedback and comments on those. And it's anticipated that the 90% design plans will be available either late this summer or early in the fall. 494, Phase 2 project. So once this current one is done, there's proposed to be another project that would begin immediately thereafter. There was a presentation on this, which would include reconstruction of the main line of 494 east of 35W and several more bridge projects. It's anticipated that that will come to the city of Richfield for municipal consent probably sometime this fall. So you can expect more about that before the city council later this year. There was also discussion of several safe routes to school projects, improving pedestrian safety along 70th Street and 73rd Streets in the eastern part of the city. And also an update on the fact, and coming up this weekend, the Portland Avenue Bridge over 494 will be closing this weekend for approximately 6 months while that bridge is demolished and reconstructed, and reopening sometime this fall. So prepare for that.
Chamber of Commerce
No report.
and Sustainability.
Richfield is going to update the climate action plan since it's been 5 years since the last one. There will be new solar panels being put on public buildings owned by the city. And 9 Mile Creek Watershed has identified Richfield as a priority area. So there'll be more outreach from them regarding rain gardens and salt reduction.
Thank you. Now we have reports from the city planners.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. In the staff agenda, or in the agenda, I mentioned that we're working on transitioning to a new agenda software. So city council packets will be implemented first, and then the fun begins for the rest of us in the commissions. There is a State of the Community event on the 11th of June, and I want to thank Matt for volunteering with me at that. I just found out that I really appreciate that. So if you all have a little bit of time in your evening, stop by and say hi here at City Hall, both in the lobby and out in the courtyard. And there will also be a joint Planning Commission, City Council, and HRA work session on June 10th, the day before, on a sketch plan for the Legion, the Vets Park site. So that starts at 6 p.m. and it's the only item on the work session, so 6 p.m. sharp. There was a first reading of the short-term rentals ordinance on the 13th and a second reading just last night. The limitation for short-term rentals was lowered from 7 days down to no less than a 5-day stay. And that limitation only applies when the owner does not live on site. If the owner lives on site, and that means anywhere on the property, doesn't have to be in the same building. They could rent out their ADU if they're living in the main house. If they live on site, then they can have stays as short as they want, because they're there monitoring the guest. And that's all I have. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Our next meeting then is June 23rd, and of course we have the work session, as the planner Crosby said, on June 10th. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Commissioner Cannulli.
And a second?
Commissioner Charlton seconds.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? We stand adjourned.